There's only one person I trust.
Your dad, yes. He okay?
He's fine.
The story begins at a diner where Mallory Kane, an operative for a private contractor, meets her colleague, Aaron. He asks her what she's doing out there, and she says she's simply waiting for Kenneth to turn himself in. Confused, Aaron informs Mallory that he was sent to pick her up. Since she doesn't want to get into his vehicle, Aaron attacks her.
You're really not getting in the car, are you?
No.
Revealing she's been set up. After a brutal fight, during which she's shot in the shoulder, she escapes in a civilian's car, taking the driver, Scott, hostage. While she drives, she orders Scott to fix her injured arm, dictating the steps to get it done. Curious about her ordeal, Scott asks her about Aaron, and she calls him her former partner in Barcelona. He then asks if she's into drug trafficking, but Mallory tells him that she works for a private company the government contracted her to.
They contracted a company I work for, private company.
A couple of days ago, Kenneth met with Alex and Rodrigo regarding the extraction of Jiang, a Chinese whistleblower who was being held captive in Barcelona. Kenneth recommended Mallory and Aaron for the job, and the men discussed the payment fee for the mission.
Yeah, we need to adjust the overall payment in order...
Mallory showed up in Barcelona and met Rodrigo, who learned that she had worked with Kenneth for 3 years. He briefed her on the mission, and she later met up with Aaron and the other agents before they embarked on it. They investigated Zhang's whereabouts, and the night before the operation, Aaron complained that they needed more hands for the mission, but the others disagreed.
You're either 2 men short in one room, or you're 1 man short in each room.
The following day, the agents swiftly carried out the extraction. However, they were discovered by the bad guys while trying to get Zhang out of the building. Within seconds, both sides clashed. One of the captors tried to flee, but Mallory gave chase and took him down. When she was done, she returned to her team, and they successfully escorted Zhang to the airport. Back at their base, the others packed up to head back to their homeland. Aaron, who hadn't left, saw Mallory relaxing and asked her why she chased after the escaping man.
When that guy took off, why'd you chase him?
So she told him she doesn't like leaving loose ends. Aaron then asked for her number, but when she demanded to know why, he changed the topic, asking if she'd be leaving Kenneth. Mallory said she had broken up with Kenneth 6 months ago.
I left Kenneth 6 months ago.
And wouldn't be working with him
hour
again
ago.
after this mission. Then Aaron said he'd continue working with Kenneth as long as the money was right, but wished Mallory would stay. She walked up to him and made a pass, and he clapped her kitty cat. Later in San Diego, Mallory received a book from her father, John Kane. Suddenly she heard someone at the door. It was Kenneth who had come because she wasn't picking up his calls. He assigned her another mission in Dublin, even though she hadn't unpacked. She refused at first, but after some persuasion, she agreed. Kenneth briefed her on the mission, which involved meeting Paul, a British freelance agent with whom she would have to pose as a couple. Kenneth gave her a piece of jewelry that Paul would use to recognize her. Mallory went to Dublin, and from the moment she saw Paul, they began playing their roles. They moved like a couple and booked a hotel suite. As soon as Paul entered the bathroom to freshen up, Mallory went through his phone and installed a tracker on it. Shortly after, Paul came out, and Mallory went in for a bath, giving Paul the chance to take her ornament. Afterward, they dressed up for the party they were to attend that night at Rusborough, where they were supposed to meet Studer. Before they left, they dropped their guns under the bed. At the event, Paul opened up to Mallory a bit, saying his family didn't know what he did. Mallory said her situation was different. She suddenly spotted someone who recognized her, someone who could compromise their mission. She told Paul, but before they could act, Studer showed up. He spoke with them briefly and invited them to go skiing the next day, but they declined. Things got a little awkward.
No discussion. We go. I'll send the itinerary to your hotel.
And as Studer walked off to speak with other guests, Paul asked Mallory to handle her part, while he dealt with Studer. Mallory excused herself and, while alone, tracked Paul's phone. She saw him talking to Studer, and later entering a room. Studer soon passed by Mallory, and seeing her nearby, she lied and said she got lost after drinking too much wine, so he pointed her back to the main area. As soon as she was out of sight, Mallory went to the room Paul had entered and found Julian's body, with her ornament in his hand. She immediately concluded that Kenneth and Paul were trying to have her killed as part of a conspiracy. She took the ornament and called Paul to confirm his location. He told her he had spoken to Sutter and apologized for turning down his offer, but said they would arrange another meeting. Paul then suggested they return to the hotel and speak to Kenneth.
I spoke to Studer briefly and made our apologies, told him we'd discuss Emirates.
Later that night, Paul and Mallory walked back to their suite. She cautiously took off her heel as they entered, and the moment they got in, Paul attacked her. They got into a vicious fight, but Mallory managed to choke him with her thighs before shooting him through a pillow. She dragged his body into the bathtub and went through his phone, confirming Kenneth's involvement. Afterward, she phoned her father, John, who was in New Mexico, and told him that things had gotten messy and she'd be coming to see him.
Hello.
Dad, it's Mal. Things are kind of screwed up here, and I need to come home.
Early at dawn, Mallory left the hotel, but noticed she was being tailed. She ran to escape, dropping Kenneth's phone in a parking garage. Despite her efforts, she was still being followed. She jumped into a cab and headed to a phone store to buy a new cell phone. Still uneasy, she checked her bag and discovered a tracker inside. Just then, police stormed the neighborhood, and she broke into a run, climbing across rooftops to escape. The cops closed in. Left with no choice, she stealthily took down 2 officers before fleeing. Then she continued across the rooftops, but during her descent, she slipped and fell. Injured but determined, she snuck away and put on a hoodie she found in a nearby vehicle, which allowed her to finally evade her pursuers. Later, she contacted Rodrigo to thank him for his help. She then asked if he was the one who sold the Barcelona job to Studer or Kenneth. Mallory then snuck through the Dublin border and made her way into London. After she hung up the call, Rodrigo contacted Alex and told him what Mallory had said. Alex quickly advised Rodrigo not to leave his house or use his landline for the time being, while he looked into the case. After the call, Alex reached out to someone to identify the last person who contacted Rodrigo. Once he had the number, he called Mallory and introduced himself as one of the people aware of the Barcelona extraction mission. He convinced her that they were on the same page regarding Kenneth, and told her that Kenneth wasn't the one pulling the strings. To uncover Kenneth's motives, Alex said the best he could do was try to arrange a meeting between her and Kenneth. Later, Mallory got a fake ID in London, flew to Canada, and crossed the border into the US just to meet with Kenneth, but Aaron showed up instead.
Koblenz helped me set up a meeting with Kenneth, but Aaron showed up instead.
After narrating her ordeal to Scott, she offers him some water from her backpack. Just then,
There's some water in my backpack.
they notice police up ahead, so she turns the vehicle around and enters the woods. One of the vehicles follows her, and as she tries to make a getaway, she spots more law enforcement officers and doubles back to evade them, but crashes into a deer. The impact wrecks the vehicle. However, Mallory tells Scott not to run, and they end up allowing the cops to arrest them. While being taken into custody separately, Mallory learns that there are federal agents on the road ahead. She warns the officers that those men aren't real federal agents. She reveals her identity and urges them to confirm who the people ahead really are.
I'm a private contractor on a 1024 operation, and these guys you're about to meet are not federal agents.
But the cops ignore her. As a last resort, Mallory braces herself with her cuffed hands and watches as the fake agents gun down the cops, like they were swatting flies, not ending lives. She immediately grabs the keys from one of the dead cops, frees herself, and takes down some of Kenneth's men. Then she escapes with Scott in one of the police vans. On the way, she tells him she'll give him a number to call and explain everything once they split up. Mallory reassures him that everything will be fine. Meanwhile, Alex confronts Kenneth in a parking lot about Mallory. Realizing they're in deep trouble, Alex tells Kenneth to meet with John and accuse Mallory of being affiliated with terrorists, and that she killed a man and 4 cops.
That she killed a man in cold blood in Dublin and killed 4 cops.
At that same time, Mallory is at John's house, tweaking the home's circuit board. She tells her father everything that went down and asks him to pretend to be shocked when Kenneth comes to lie about her. She also asks him to keep pressing Aaron about Barcelona to stir things up between him and Kenneth. That way, Aaron might slip up. John suggests she fly somewhere and hide, but she tells him she's done running.
We could leave right now. Disappear.
Later that evening, Kenneth arrives at John's place and shows him graphic evidence of the people Mallory took down. He lies, just as Alex suggested, and tries to build a narrative by asking John questions and fishing for more information.
You're gonna help bring her in before she kills again. Without you, she won't survive this.
John plays along, acting shocked. Kenneth asks if Mallory ever mentioned his name, but John denies it. Kenneth doesn't believe him, given that he dated Mallory for over a year. Still, John defends her secretive behavior, tying it to her background as a former Marine officer. Kenneth calls her a murderer and pleads with John to help them catch her before she kills again. John pushes back, saying he knows his daughter wouldn't kill for money. He tells them she mentioned going to Barcelona about 10 days ago.
10 days ago. She texted me, said she was going to Barcelona.
Kenneth presses for more, but John insists that's all he knows. He then hints that whatever's happening likely has something to do with Barcelona, but Kenneth tries to steer the conversation away from that. Suddenly, Mallory calls John using a foreign number and asks him to pass the phone to Kenneth. Unbeknownst to them, she's been listening in on their conversation. They trace the call as she tells Kenneth to give her one good reason why he betrayed her and what he's into with Studer. Kenneth tells her to surrender, at least for her father's sake. Mallory responds by telling him he should surrender if he wants to live. He refuses, and she says she'll do things his way.
Surrender now if you want to live.
I'm sorry, Mallory, that's not possible.
By that point, they realize she's inside the house.
She's here.
Kenneth sends his henchmen after her and orders John not to leave the room.
Down.
You knew about this? You knew she was here?
No.
Aaron asks Kenneth about Barcelona, and John, playing the game, acts surprised that Aaron was involved. He presses Aaron for details, but Kenneth cuts in and tells Aaron to focus on taking Mallory down. Suddenly, the lights go out. Aaron heads off to search for Mallory, while Kenneth stays behind with John. Aaron looks around but doesn't find her, so he returns to Kenneth. They wonder if she has already fled. Meanwhile, outside, Kenneth's henchman searches the property. Then Aaron receives a photo of Julian's corpse and flips out, demanding answers from Kenneth. Realizing he's been double-crossed, Kenneth shoots Aaron and flees the house. At the same time, Mallory ambushes the henchman. She misses her chance to catch Kenneth, and by the time she searches the house, he's already gone. Mallory returns to Aaron and silently mourns him as he passes away. Days later, Mallory meets with Alex at the airport. After confirming that her father is okay, he presents himself as trustworthy, since he fulfilled his end of the bargain. She agrees, and Alex tells her he'll get Scott a new car. He indirectly offers her a job, warning that Kenneth still has many people in his network and could come after her. Without wasting any time, Mallory asks about Kenneth's whereabouts. Alex tells her that Kenneth has crossed the border. He brings up his offer again, and she tells him she'll let him know once she has Kenneth.
When I have him.
Kenneth, now hiding out in Mexico, tries contacting Studer for help, but Studer doesn't respond. Frustrated, Kenneth leaves his place and takes a walk along the beach to clear his head. Suddenly, Mallory jumps at him, and they start fighting. Kenneth tries to escape, but she gives him a hot chase and prevents him from fleeing. He pushes her away and runs, but his foot gets caught between some rocks. Seeing the opportunity, Mallory interrogates him about Julian. Kenneth begs for her help, and finally confesses that Rodrigo was the one who planned the entire setup with Studer.
You take Jan out. Kenneth takes the Kane girl out, to close the loop.
To get Julian off Studer's back, they teamed up, Rodrigo, Studer, and Kenneth. Kenneth had Paul kill Julian and frame Mallory, and the plan was for Paul to kill her in self-defense. When Mallory asks about the motive behind it all, Kenneth says it was money.
Paul, the motive is money. The motive is always money.
He told Paul not to think of Mallory as a woman, but just a target. Studer, for his part, asked Rodrigo the same question, and Rodrigo simply said he wanted a new life and a new wife.
A new life. And a new wife.
After revealing everything, Kenneth pleads again for help, but Mallory walks away, leaving him at the beach to die as the tide rolls in. She then tracks down Rodrigo, who's now living the good life in Majorca. One day, while he's enjoying time with his wife, Diana, they hear the doorbell. Diana goes to answer it, but doesn't return. When Rodrigo hears nothing, he gets up to check on her. As he turns the corner, Mallory creeps up behind him. The moment he sees her, he realizes he's cooked, and silently resigns himself to his fate, the end. Thank you for sticking to the end of my video. Please do me the biggest favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video.